Hey, badass black girls, and they making big moves. Hey, badass black girls, nothing that you can't do. They are the future, I'm trying to tell ya. They want the best, no time to settle. They got the strength to handle the pressure. These are the queens, nobody better. Yeah, changing the narrative, that is imperative. They about to rock this. Tell the women that you got this. Got no time for people who are toxic. It's all love, good vibes. You know I got your back, girl. Talking issues that matter. This is badass black girl, yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Badass Black Girl. We have someone very special with us from Homestead, Florida, Marie Ketsia Theodore-Pharel. Hi Ketsia.
Hi Jessica, thank you for having me. Everyone, I'm so happy to be here with you to talk about this topic. A badass black girl for me is a girl who doesn't give up. As you know, as we all know this year, we've had so many unexpected things happen through this pandemic that we're living through. For me personally, that has been my situation for the past 7 years, where unexpectedly I had a life event where my house burned down. Though it was through no fault of my own, and I had insurance. I went through 7 years of litigation with my insurance company that really did a number on me. And as I've shared with you many times, and you've been such a comforting, real support for me, sometimes with some really common sense advice, you know, take a deep breath, Ketsia, it's gonna be okay. And I always share that story because even though it might seem like a simple statement to say to someone, but when someone is in a storm and someone says something very simple as, you know, grounding them, you know, with really good touch and say, Ketsia, it's going to be okay. And I was ready to hear that. And I started saying that to myself after that. And I started thinking positively, you know, and thinking, yes, it's going to be okay. You know, it's going to be okay. I've got to be okay with that, you know? And so I don't know if you want to ask any other questions. I just jumped in, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, Ketsia is a very well-loved writer. She's written books for kids. She's written books for young adults. She's contributed to so many wonderful anthologies with her gripping stories for adults. So she writes for all age levels, and she has some insight. But I also know you, Ketsia, as a friend. And I remember that difficult period in your life. But for those of us who don't know you, or maybe who don't know what you've gone through, tell us about that day. What happened the day of the fire? I know it must be so difficult to talk about, but I think it's important for people to understand what resilience means. And your story is definitely one of resilience. Tell us a little bit about what happened that day.
So, from what I can remember, so what happened that day, I got up early in the morning. My husband was, so let me back up a little bit. So when we first moved to Florida, we had, you know, been living in Pembroke Pines, but then my husband wanted to farm, and I was a full-time tenured professor at Broward, and we had this dream of having this organic farm. And so we started looking at different ways to make that dream happen. We wanted to go back to Haiti, but that wasn't going to be a possibility. So we bought land in Homestead. We bought a farm in Homestead, and I was so happy. We built a house in Homestead, and like everything, there's always a storm. Sometimes it's a rainstorm, sometimes it's a Category 1, sometimes a full-fledged hurricane. And we found ourselves in the storm of that recession, where all the plans we made wasn't, you know, what it was. So my husband stepped up And I love him for that. He's the guy who's not going to sit back driving a cab. And I remember that morning, as every weekend, I would wake up early. It was a Saturday morning, woke up early to drive him to Davie to pick up the cab that he was going to drive. And we came back. I was very tired. I slept. My daughter had a chorus rehearsal. She used to sing with Miami Children's Chorus. And she came downstairs and said, "Mom, I'm gonna be late for my practice." And we had like 20 minutes to get from Homestead to Coral Gables. Packed everyone. I was in like shorts, just brushed my teeth, took the babies. At the time, my middle child, Fievre, was 3, and the baby was like 9 months old. So I just grabbed everyone, packed them in the car. I didn't even take my cell phone. I left my cell phone, I realized. But Vanessa had her cell phone. So I didn't want to come back. My neighbors had been calling me since 11 to tell me they saw smoke coming from the roof of the house. But they did call the fire department. Fire department didn't show up until about 1 o'clock, and I showed up after 3 because I had been out. Took Vanessa to the choir practice. Then it was Christmas, so I took the kids to take Christmas pictures with Santa, drop off their Christmas letters to Santa. We just had a great day. To come home, I'm coming home and I see smoke billowing out of my house. This was my dream home that we built ourselves. You know, we were owner builders, pulled the permits, ran the whole thing. This was our dream. And to see the house on fire, it was shocking. The first bad experience I had was that the cops didn't believe that was my house. So when I drove up, I had to show them my ID. Thank God I did have my wallet. I showed them my ID. They let me on the property. The fire department didn't have any water on the truck. They told me, "Oh, we were at a demonstration. We don't have water on the truck." But I remember, I don't know exactly when, but at a certain point of time, they had me certify a well on my property that if there was ever a fire, they would use that well to put the fire out. Well, they said the well was dry. It wasn't until 11 p.m. that night, not 11 p.m. that night, it was around 6 o'clock that night, that a neighbor of mine, a farmer neighbor of mine, brought up something called a boom, and he dug a new well right on my property line. He dug a new well, and we were able to find water, and the fire department was able to put the fire out. The entire house burned. Everything I had in the house burned.
So from 11 a.m. when your neighbors first saw the smoke to 6 p.m. Wow.
Yeah, it was burning. They finished putting out the fire around 11 p.m. and that's when we went, to a hotel. But that whole time, from 6 to about 11, they were putting water on the fire. So that's why the house ended up burning entirely, because the fire department didn't have anything to put it out with, So
feel this entire time.
Oh my gosh, my stomach was in a knot. Just thinking of, all my things in there, I'm not thinking about like things that I can replace, like furniture, but I think about, my wedding dress, pictures, my laptop that had all my novels I was working on, that I have a bad habit, I didn't back up, and the backups that I had burned in the fire, So it's for a writer. My books, my collection of books, my autographed books that I had gotten over the years, you know how it is, it was anguish to see that, yeah. So that day, it was so shocking to me. Like it came out of Like if you had told me that morning that I would lose everything that I had in my life, I wouldn't have believed you, you know, because it was such a normal, beautiful day, nothing was wrong, and then everything went downhill like that in just a few hours.
What happened next?
Pardon?
What happened next?
So what happened next is, I think it was 1 or 2 days later, because in the midst of this, a few months before, citizens who I had insurance with for 3 years decided it had too much risk. Governor Scott at the time said, if there was a big natural disaster, citizen couldn't sustain. So what he started doing was selling off the policies. Well, from what I read in my research, 10 guys each put $1 million together. They started a new insurance company called Heritage. And they got my policy along with 255 policies traded to them. Okay? They didn't look at the policies. It didn't matter to them. They got the policies. I didn't even know Heritage was my insurance policy. I had to, on the couple of days after, I had to call my mortgage company and work backwards and then find out and put in a claim. Well, Heritage came, 2 guys from Heritage came. One of them identified himself as a vice president of something, I can't remember now. But another one, his name was David Killitzit, and he said that he would process my claim. And he said, listen, don't get property adjusters involved. They're gonna muddle this. I feel really bad for you and your family. We're gonna make sure we take care of you and get your house up and running before no time. And Jessica, I was a sucker. I totally believed them, didn't call an adjuster, didn't call an attorney. They did, within 2 days, wire me about, I think it was $7,000 to pay my hotel bill. So they were working with me. They gave me money, and I thought, okay, well, why would I call a lawyer? They're great people. They're trying to be nice to me. I did not know that these people were putting me in a position where they would put me in a position where they wouldn't pay my claim. So after that, we started to look for a new place, and we did find a rental. They paid the first month, they paid the security, and the last month. That was part of the $7,000 they sent. And we started living there. A couple of months in, they said, listen, we're processing your claim. We're gonna get you into a new house. We're gonna get your house rebuilt. We just need you to meet with someone, give a statement. They interviewed me and my husband, this one person. Now I come to think of it, I think he was an investigator, some kind of a cop, but he didn't identify himself as that. He said he worked for Heritage. I met them at the hotel in Homestead. It was the Marriott, one of the hotels, the new hotels they have in Homestead. He interviewed me for 3 hours. Interviewed my husband for 3 hours separately. Based on what we said in those things, and you know, somebody's talking to you like I'm talking to you now, I'm not really thinking of legalities. I'm not trying to hide anything. Maybe I might say something, I might be a little bit looser than if I had my lawyer with me. My lawyer would say, hey, this word might sound this way to these people, so don't say it. Use this word. This is the real word you need. So when they interviewed my husband, and he was, you know, the way our relationship works, and I don't know if this is the way it works with you and Thomas, but I usually handle all the paperwork. My husband is more the hands-on guy. He fixes things. If paperwork needs to be done, I do it. We talk about it. He trusts me.
Absolutely.
So the husband, you know.
Same here. That's I mean, if there's something that he needs to get involved in, we'll talk about it. But if you ask him about any type of paperwork or legal stuff, it's like, see with my wife, because
okay.
He'll make sure that everything works. But in
Yes.
terms of talking to people and sending paperwork in, and that's usually me, so I can totally relate.
Okay, I'm glad, because when the case came about, the lawyer for the insurance company made me look like this evil woman who emasculated my husband, and I was a trickster. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. But my husband said to them, they asked my husband, was their business conducted on the property? Because that's what their argument was, that I had a business and I fraudulently bought the wrong kind of insurance. I had homeowner's insurance. I have homeowner's insurance because that's what was sold to me. The agent knew it was a farm. The agent claimed that he came and did an inspection. There's no way you can come on my property. I'm in the middle of all farms. You can come to my property and see what we're growing and all the things that we have and not know this is a farming property. In addition, the documentation they pulled on the property, when you go on the county appraiser's office, it says agricultural exemption. This is only given to people who are farming. So the agent knew. So my husband said, yes, this business being conducted on the farm. And you know, he's proud. He's a proud farmer. That's what we moved down here to do. We moved to Homestead. We sold our property in Port-au-Prince. He loves to tell people about his dragon fruit and everything that he's farming. And I had a real estate office too in my house, which is permissible as a real estate broker. I never met with people at my house, but I do paperwork at my house. I keep stuff at my house. And so they used that as their argument to say that I fraudulently got the wrong policy, which is total BS. Excuse me, those of you who are listening. It was a precept that the judge, Thomas Rebel, who's running for election now in Dade County on August 18, I would appreciate it if you would really review his record and vote accordingly to your conscience. But this man sided with the insurance company and said that I don't deserve to have a home. And the repercussions have been great. I have lived in a trailer without electricity or running water. For 3 years, I lived like that. Then the county, after saving money, working 3 jobs, I managed to bring the electricity in again. They allow me to keep the trailer as my office. But the truth is, and for a lot of people, they would be embarrassed, but I have prayed about this and I need to share wholeheartedly because my situation is not who I am. I am a hardworking person. I found myself with my children living in an RV. An RV is a recreational vehicle. It's 27 feet long by 10 feet. We've been living like this for the other 4. So we've been housing insecure. Judge Thomas Rebel, if I were a white woman, would you subject me to this kind of poverty when we worked so hard? We had an insurance policy that should have covered us, that should have rebuilt my house, you know? And when I talk about this and couch it in the way that, to tell people that it's not only physical brutality that Black people experience that shows that racism still exists. There is a social, economical racism that exists because when I was brought up in front of that judge, and Michelle DeVirio, who represented Heritage, you know, she comes from a law firm where they pay them like $500 an hour. And this woman who doesn't know me stands up in front of Judge Rebel and says, oh, Miss Farrell is a teacher and her husband drives a cab. How can they afford this house? Yes, my house was 5,000 square feet. We built it out of sweat and blood. From the day I graduated college, I've never not have 2 jobs. You know, we were hardworking people. And the way they framed it is that I had something to hide, that there was something off about the fact that this teacher and this cab driver, and that's all they saw about me. They didn't see the 15 books that I had written. They didn't see that I am a college professor. They didn't see my education, how hard I struggled. All they saw was, and they belittled me. I am a teacher, an educator. That is something important. She says I was a mere teacher and my husband was a cab driver, belittling us that we don't deserve this kind of a house. What do we deserve? We deserve to live in an RV and a mobile home that is in bad condition. Not to say that people who live in a mobile home are deserving or there's something wrong with them, but that wasn't what I set out to do, you know? So no more tears. So this is what I've been dealing with. And let me tell you, Jessica, what has kept me going? First, God. Second, my writing. As a writer, I am so thankful to God that He gave me that skill, because I was able to articulate my feelings in a blog, heritageinsurancenightmare.blogspot.com.
So Ketsia, you've been going through so much, from having to see your house being burned down, to living in a hotel for a few days, then to a temporary home, then to moving into an RV with your family, living in a very small RV, no water, no electricity for a while. You were about to let us know what kept you going.
Yes. What kept me going and keeps me going, because the situation has not changed. What has changed is my attitude towards it. I realized something that, yes, I might live in an RV, but outside of that RV, there's a great big sky. There's a beautiful sky, and at night, it's full of stars just for me. There's so many beautiful trees. There are beautiful people around. And I started changing my focus. Instead of looking at my pain inwardly, looking at other people who are in pain. How can I share their pain? How can I work with them, you know? So I stopped focusing on my situation so much, because it was driving me mental. And I started focusing outwardly, appreciating the beauty around me, appreciating people, appreciating being positive, meditating, praying. And believe it or not, a lot of positive energy started coming towards me, you know? Like, for example, I was always afraid of trying out for like competition. My book was entered into a competition. I won the Purple Dragonfly.
Congratulations again for that.
Thank you. For a book that promotes diversity. And that means a lot to me, because that book, I wrote that book, and it's another example of how, if you take a bad situation and you step away from it. And Anjanette Delgado said this at our last tete-a-tete that we had, and I appreciated that so much. You've got to be able to step from your pain and make something constructive out of it. And I remember when my daughter Finesia was in the 2nd grade, she came home and she said that this boy, and they had written it up, told her she was the color of poop. This little white boy told her she was ugly, she's the color of poop. I had never heard of this. Somebody say something so terrible. You know, I mean, at the time, it killed me. It really killed me. But I started to write this book and started to think about how beautiful we are in nature. And I wrote this book, Beauty Walks in Nature, that my daughter's beauty is grounded in nature. The Native American child's beauty is grounded in nature. The Asian child's beauty is grounded in nature. nature. The Aborigine of Australia, his beauty is in nature. And I wrote this book, and I'm so happy about this book because it does promote diversity about what it is that's beautiful in all of us, and let's claim it. And I wasn't ashamed about putting my daughter's situation in that book either, so I was happy when I won that award.
Congratulations again, you
Thank
make us
you.
proud. And you mentioned that you had to find a way to deal with the situation mentally because you were under so much pressure that you felt that your mental health was not as well as it could be. Mm-hmm. And there's so much going on in the world right now with the additional pressure of the coronavirus and of course the protests that are happening in different parts of the world, although they are not talking about them as much as they should and as much as they did in weeks past. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that all this must add an additional layer of pressure in your own life with everything that you're already going through, still keeping the fight for the house. And how you mentioned writing, but would you talk a little bit about the things that you do daily? Do you have a daily writing schedule and other strategies that you might use to take care of yourself, of your mental health, what we call self-care these days? This idea that in order to remain wholesome, there are specific steps, specific habits we need to embrace so that we are taking care of ourselves.
Good question. At the beginning of the pandemic, I can tell you I was one of those people who was flattened by it. I couldn't. I live outside because of my situation. My situation is manageable because I'm able to go to Starbucks and write. I'm able to go to the library and write. I'm able to take my children to McDonald's while they're playing in the jungle gym and I can write. I can take them to a park, let them ride their bike, and I can write, read, meditate, and breathe. Now I had to do everything in this small little trailer RV. And all four of us are home at the time. My daughter, Finecia, was traveling, and then she went to stay with a friend, thankfully. But she's home now. What I did was, I started to think about, okay, this is as good as it gets. Recognizing my reality. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. My friend called me and was telling me this story and made me laugh. He said, in Jamaica, there's a man. He's sitting on a coconut tree and he's eating his last banana because he's got nothing. He said, after I eat this banana, I'm just gonna drop myself out of this tree and die because there's nothing to live for. I'm hungry, I don't have a job. And then so he peels his banana and he eats his banana and he drops the peel down. And beneath him, a man picks up the peel and he eats the peel. And he said, thank you, God, for this peel that you've just given me. I was so hungry and it's great fiber. Thank you. And when my friend said it, because we were talking about my situation, I realized I have a lot of banana peels. What can I do with it? Yes, I have my children. So what we started doing is we started walking around the property. Well, I live on 5 acres, So my husband made a path for us. We started walking early in the morning. That is a routine that has helped me start my morning breathing, meditating. I have a quote I meditate on. I have a Bible verse I meditate on, share and talk. I do that every morning for 2 hours from 7 to 9. And then I go about my day taking care of the children, cooking, cleaning. And then I do take out some time to write. I don't always do it on time. I forgive myself for that. But I make a writing schedule. Do I follow it? Sometimes. But the fact is, I have it there. it gives me, it's kind of like a compass in my writing. Even if on my schedule I put writing business, that's usually has something to do with the business of writing, not necessarily creating writing, but the business of writing. I do one thing a day for my writing. And it could be connecting with someone, it could be booking an event, but I do something every day for my writing. But the most important thing is to start my day breathing, meditating, thinking positively. Those 3 things I do, and I do them dragging my children with me. I have them, they're part of my bananas, my banana peels. I love them, but I have to take care of them. So I take them with me on what I do.
Do you think that one day you'll be able to rebuild the house?
That is my goal. That is my goal. And that's another point. You know, when you're a writer, I think it's Ellison who said this. He said that when you're a writer, you belong to a great family of writers. They become your ancestors. They become part of your ancestry. They become part of your family. And over the years, over the last 7 years in my struggle, it is other writers, not only yourself with your book, Badass Girl, and the beautiful affirmations in that book I relate to. I do meditate on some of the quotes you have in there. But some of the writers I think of, I read their writing and they lift me up. You know, Alice Walker, Edwidge Danticat, Toni Morrison. And I was reading the other day, A Raisin in the Sun. I was rereading it. And, you know, in that story, the family's waiting for an insurance check. And I never really thought about that because I've read that play many times. And I was thinking about, there's a line in it, I'm not quoting it well. It was like how wrong it is to stake your life on that insurance check, something to that effect. I was thinking about that. I was waiting, and that was the biggest part, not getting that insurance check to rebuild my house. I was waiting all this time for that. What can I do, okay, to rebuild myself? And that's part of my resilience, strategizing, thinking. My husband and I have made a plan on what we have to do to rebuild our house because Citizens Insurance turned on us, let us down. Heritage Insurance let us down. The legal system let us down. Judge Thomas Rebo, you know, didn't think that we needed to. It's up to us. We have to rebuild, and we will rebuild. We will rebuild. I really believe that.
I wish you the best of luck, Ketsia. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's such a gripping story, inspiring story. And I just know that your house will be rebuilt.
And guess who I'm going to invite for a wonderful dinner when it happens? You.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
You, girl.
Until next time, Ketsia.
Thank you for being a badass girl, Jessica.
See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.